Before we get started here, I want to remind everyone to please hit that like button and share this video on whatever social media you have. Since this is a restricted channel, you're the only chance we have to overcome YouTube's anti-2A bias and discrimination. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shooting the Shit with Yankee. And as always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today, in honor of us starting off Toy Guns for Tots 2025, the question is, what was your favorite toy gun as a child? I want to hear from you out there. I want to know what you thought was the best toy gun. I'm sure it's going to vary for age groups. You know, some of you younger guys had airsoft guns. A lot of us older guys, we didn't have that. So we had a smaller array of things to choose from. Although I'm not going to say we didn't have a lot of options, because we did. I mean, I loved toy guns when I was a kid. Most everything I got revolved around superheroes or toy guns or Star Trek, you know, stuff like that. So I was a big fan of it. But when I was a kid, to start the ball rolling here, my favorite toy guns, well, if it comes down to what my favorites were, well, that's a little hard, because my grandfather used to carve toy guns out of wood for me that looked like any movie replica. He was a master carpenter when it came to carving and stuff. He was an artisan. So I had guns that he carved me. He even carved me one of the mini phasers for Star Trek that looked just like the ones that they carried, the Type 3 or whatever it is. Or is it Type 4? What is that when they're the palm ones? But you know what I'm saying, the palm phaser that I loved. But as far as store-bought goes, well, we had a lot to choose from. We had a lot of cap guns. I was born in the age of the paper caps. But the little plastic caps came around when I was a kid. Now, we also had the little, we didn't have airsoft, but we had the little rubber yellow BBs, you know, the ones that came like on a stick with strings of rubber BBs, and you bit them off and then spit them in a gun. It was just the easiest way to do it. And the disc ones, the little ones that shot the flying discs that you could still find in couches 30 years later. Those were all fun. But I mean, to me, the best gun that I ever owned, the ones I just loved the most, were the little like J-frames, Colt Detective Special, 6-shot revolvers, like the little detective guns that had the little red ring caps that were like a moon clip. You know, it was very much like putting a moon clip in the gun. And one of the best things about those guns is not only were they great for your imagination and having fun, and they were very much like the ones you'd see on TV. They'd even smoke when you shot them and stuff. But it taught you ammo management and shot discipline, because those cap rings were expensive for little kids. So we knew how many we had and how many shots we had. So we were more careful. It was a learning experience for when you're older about how the most expensive part of shooting is the caps. And most part of shooting now is the bullets, the ammo. So I love those, you know, and they looked like the little airweights nowadays. Remember, they were black and they often had a silver cylinder. So they looked like the little Smith & Wesson airweights of the day, and they shot the little 6-ring caps. So they were just awesome. And those were by far my favorite. I even had one that was a little blunderbuss, and you just stuck. Remember how the caps could either come in strips that could feed into strip things or peel off separately, and you could put it. I had a little blunderbuss that took them separately. But I loved my little detective specials with the red ring caps. Those were the best. But as I was saying, now let's move on to what you all got to say. Before I do, though, I want to remind everyone that we are doing Toy Guns for Tots now. So if you want to go over and donate, go over to my website, tympistolproject.com. You can donate directly, or you can go to my website. There's a link right below the place where you donate to take you over to my merchandise page, where you can buy Toy Guns for Tots 2025 merchandise that comes with an entry into the drawings we're going to be doing. Plus, you get the product basically at cost. So go on over there, get yourself something. Or if you just want to support the channel, you can also become a Subscribe Star member, a Patreon member, buy a regular merchandise, all that stuff. Register for TYMP, sign someone up for Handguns for Heroes. You can do all that over there. So go on over to my website and help out the channel, or donate to Toy Guns for Tots. And with that being said, let's get started. That's the bad thing about being a solo act on this. I don't have like a producer or nothing, anybody else to talk at any time. If I take a drink for soda, it's a dead spot. Let's see here. Let's start off with Johnny Mandrick, who says, I don't have a single toy gun I remember, but cap guns with the roll of caps were my favorite. I love those too. I had many cowboy sets when I was a kid. I got a picture laying around here somewhere of me as a cowboy. I always say it's me as a gay cowboy as a kid because it's one of them. Good guys always wore white, so it's white with a white vest with frills and white hat and everything. And I'm standing there like with my 6 shooters. But I love those, where the little side slid open and you stuck the caps on a little peg and then started feeding them up. Those were great because you could get more shots out of each one, but you had to tear off the paper or else it looked cheap because, real guns didn't have paper coming out the top of them. You had to tear off the spent caps. Sean Bain chimed in, says, laser tag for me. My brother and cousins played it for hours. Browning IP. Yeah, I remember the laser tag first started coming out probably when I was like 12 or so, 13 maybe. And I would have loved to have it, but it was out of our price range for stuff for me when I was a kid. We were too poor. Sean Bain must have been one of them rich kids having laser tag. I remember I wanted to go play laser tag at one of the arenas so bad when I was a kid, and one finally opened up in Huntington. And when we went up one time to the mall, my mom said we'd see about it, but it was like $6 or something that per kid to play, and she's like, oh, I can't afford that. So I was very disappointed. John of all trades said Super Soaker 100 with custom shoulder strap. My sister had the original Model 50. The Super Soakers were very, very popular. That was a little after my time that they became popular. We just had regular spray guns. Although I do remember when I was a kid, you could buy this one that I wanted really badly, but it was expensive also. You had a little tank on your back and a little tube came up to a rifle that you squirted. It wasn't electric, but it had like an endless supply of water. So that was pretty cool. But squirt gun fights were awesome when we were kids, and your grenades would be water balloons. Officer Tater Hater chimed in, says, I found cap guns very fascinating growing up. I wish I still had one for old time's sake. Remember to read my PayPal super chat from last night. I did read your PayPal super chat from last night. I read all of them from last night. I took a stop right in the middle of the chat last night during the no FUD zone and read them. You must not have been paying attention. That's not on me. That's on you. Mr. Furley said, I had a cap gun Colt Detective Special replica. Yeah, that's the ones I had. I still remember we have a park back home that has an old Fort Randolph. It's one of the old forts from back in the day that's been refurbished and stuff, and it's like a little landmark now. And me and my cousins would go in there, and we had those cap guns, and I can still remember it as vivid as day, probably being about 8 years old, being in that fort and running around playing with our cap guns, having battles in the old fort. Heavy J said J-frame pop gun faux pearl grips, had a pair. I've got some pictures of me with some old toy guns as a kid that I just loved. Although some of them I think it was real guns. There's one I'm holding like a PPK. I think it's a real gun because I think someone just unloaded it and gave me it to hold on to. Because they did that back then. They let you take real guns and hold them, get your picture taken as a kid. That was Heavy J. Practical Bacon chimed in and said, had a snub-nosed revolver cap gun, 2 rifle replicas that were solid wood and metal, old school, no plastic, a Springfield bolt action and musket. I remember the old metal guns, the pop guns that had the cork. Remember the cork guns that were rifles? And they had a string on it, so boop, the would only shoot like 3 feet and then fall. So you didn't break stuff in the house. But, usually you took the string off of it so you could shoot cork across the ring. Also said also a Springfield bolt action and musket. I had a little musket that shot the caps. Edgar got it at Kings Island, actually. I think my mom stole it at Kings Island for me because she found out what I wanted. And then she sent me out with one of the friends out then she came out with it. And I think she stole it. She was very young at the time. Let's see, I was probably 6. So she was probably 20. Let's see here. Edgar Cortez said a metal pistol revolver that popped caps when you pulled the trigger. Loved it. Yes, cap guns are a thing of the past, I do guess, but they were so much fun because they smoked and they made the smell of gunpowder. Remember smelling your gun, the cap gun, if you smell like a cowboy. But that was Edgar Cortez. And then Pocket Sand chimed in. We got a couple more people weighing in here, but how about to the end? Pocket Sand weighed in and said, I had a Red Ryder BB gun and was fond of as a child. Yes, I had a little pump action BB gun too. And me and my brothers all got it one year for Christmas. That was our Christmas gift. We only got one toy a year. And all of us got the pump action BB gun. And we shot each other with those so many times. Remember, we got in trouble once. My grandfather caught us shooting each other with them. And he made us go get fishing glasses and put on. He didn't care we were shooting each other with BB guns. He just didn't want us putting an eye out and have to take one of us to the hospital. So he gave us fishing glasses to wear and go out and shoot each other with them. But yeah, BB guns were. I had also I had a CO2 pellet and BB gun pistol. That thing was awesome. It was a Daisy. I forget what it was called, but it was kind of futuristic looking for the time. Loved that. A little pellet gun. But that was, once again, the little CO2 cartridges would run you broke shooting the gun because you only got 5 or 6 shots out of each canister, it seemed like, and then you had to put a new canister in. Those things weren't cheap. I remember I stole some from Western Auto once. And I think the guy who worked there wanted me to steal them because I went in and had my money and I said how much I had and saw how much the canisters were. You know, I was really young. And he's like, well, that's not enough. And I was like, all right. And he left them lay on the counter and he sat them on the counter and then walked away. So I picked them up and went out with them. I think he wanted me to steal them. No, get off his dick, I guess. Root Rot chimed in and says, 1911 squirt gun felt good in my hand. Well, 1911s, of course it did. We've got one more person weighing in here, then we're done with shooting the shit. Kroshnikov had a paper roll revolver, 100 shots realistic. Yeah, I like those ones when you flipped up the side and you stuck it in there and fed it in. And that was the best thing about them is that they went for a long time. And I had rifles that did that too. I had them to match my 6-shooters, you know, when I got like the sets for my birthday and stuff. So same thing with those. You stuck the caps in them, threaded it up through it, pat, 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 pat. And they were hammer fired. A little metal hammer was back and forth with a flat face on it. But yeah, I love those. Cap guns. It seems like cap guns pretty much took the day today. Cap guns and squirt guns. I'm surprised it wasn't more airsoft guns. Did we not have a lot of young people in here, or they just couldn't afford airsoft guns growing up? We did get a laser tag, but mostly cap guns and squirt guns. It must be older guys in here. And I'm surprised we didn't get any of the little disc guns. Those disc guns were so fun and popular. And the ones that look kind of like a Beretta Jetfire, but they shot the little yellow BBs. Those were so popular. Remember, they had the little slide open top on the top where you slid it open and spit your BBs in it, and then you slid it shut and pop, 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 pop. Little spring-loaded things. Those were so fun. But thanks everybody for weighing in. I appreciate it. How about you out in YouTube land? What was your favorite toy gun as a child? Let me know in the comment section. And if you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to one of our live chats. We do them every day at 6 p.m. Hope to see you at one soon. As far as everybody else that did show up today, I appreciate it. Especially those of you that weighed in to keep the topic flowing here. I appreciate everything y'all do for the channel. So, and hope to see you again tomorrow. Stick around. We're going to be doing the Merc Guns and Freedom podcast next, but that does it for shooting the shit right now. So thanks for coming, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe. until I see you again. And Nominal Snowman weighed in at the last minute and said, nerf or nothing. Nerf or nothing. He should have said nothing. He said nothing, but he should have said nothing.